One individual in particular is my very dear friend, Larry Dvoskin. Larry, we love you. I am so grateful to have you in my life. You are a catalyst for kindness. We are all lucky to have you in this space. Please welcome Larry Dvoskin and two individuals who, if you don't know who they are right now, you're going to learn about them and you will know who they are in the future. Please come on up. We've got Sam Smith, Larry Dvoskin, and Ben Smallwood talking about digital wearables and wearable digitals. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. I'm going to briefly introduce everyone. My name is Larry Dvoskin. I look a little different than my profile picture. Obviously, I'm not sure what medication I was on, but it obviously wasn't working at the time and has fixed itself. So you are looking at real rock and roll. There's a lot of fake rock and roll. There's a lot of posers. There's what they call in England liggers, like people you find backstage, but really, this is the real deal. And to prove it, how many panels have you seen where they just come on stage with beer, like, we love rock and roll. So I am a Grammy-nominated music producer. I've sold about 25 million records with everyone from working in some role with David Bowie, MGMT, Sean Lennon, Sammy Hagar, the Beach Boys, Bono, lots of charity work for the Grammys, the UN, and just have transferred into the Web3 space to help bring a whole new generation of music lovers into this space. These guys are working with, and I'll let you introduce yourselves individually in a moment, working with a company called Global Merch Services. They are the world's #1 independent music merchandiser for a host of artists, whether they're new and just breaking out, or whether they're sort of now turning into legacy artists like the Backstreet Boys, or whether they're like Smell the Glove, iconic legends like Iron Maiden and Ozzy Osbourne. So please help me give a big hand to Sam and Elliot.
Hello. Thank you, Larry, for the kind words. It really is a pleasure to be, sat here with you. Obviously, been such a kind of warm hand-holder in this space for us as we've navigated it, and delighted to be kind of in this room and talking with you guys about the kind of fascinating things we see happening in digital wearables and, as we mentioned, wearable digitals. So I guess kind of a good place to start is, what do those two things mean? And, how do we see them at Global? And I think really essentially you're looking at like a two-way conversation, and that one direction we're bringing our artists, some of the properties Larry mentioned, across into Web3 in an authentic way, true to themselves, true to the kind of goodwill and the fan base that they've built up over so many decades in some cases. And in the other direction, we are kind of partnering with cut-through Web3 IP and bringing it into the traditional merch realm. We'll get into kind of the ways we're doing it a bit more, but that's kind of what we're overseeing. And yeah, as I said, delighted to be here to share it all with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's nice to be in London as well. Who's from London here? Yeah?
Who's from London here? Anybody? All right. Oi!
No, because we've been to NFT LA and NYC, so it's just nice to be at home. But yeah, as Sam said, yeah, we work with a ton of artists, and like really our job is trying to guard that IP, because I think everyone knows who knows the NFT space and the general Web3 space. There's a fair amount of auditing that needs to be done before you trust your properties with anyone. And that's been a big part of the undertaking that we've gone through, and we're delighted to have found a bunch of incredible partners. At the beginning of this year, we did a crypto bats drop with Sutter Systems and Ozzy Osbourne, which was great. And
and how much did that generate in 1 month?
I'm not going to go into how much it
was it 40 million?
It was good. It was good.
Okay, crypto bats, and then the bat, if it bit someone else's NFT?
We had mutant bats. Basically, we were the first the first collection to partner with other blue chip projects to create like additional NFTs, which were basically airdrops like a mutant, but you could be bit by another blue chip project. So it was Subducks and Cryptodes and Bored Apes, etc., etc. And then the last part of the roadmap is actually the most interesting part in like relation to today, because it's Ozfest and it's the first time that a mainstay like real world music festival is being brought into the metaverse. I mean, there's a lot of metaverse jump up music festivals, but this is actually Ozfest. This is actually a real thing. It's been around the world for a long time, and it was just announced, and we announced obviously Ozzy Osbourne is headlining, but we can let you guys exclusively know that we've got some other artists playing. We've brought Lemmy back from the dead, and Motorhead's going to be playing.
So how do you get Lemmy from Motorhead, who is very, like the Ramones, the Motorhead merchandise is bigger than the bands. Like people wear the Motorhead with the crazy jowling
The war pig.
alien.
The war pig.
Well, it stands for something bigger than the music, right?
Yeah.
It stands for the kind of counterculture, and it speaks to people, you know, intergenerationally. Whether you see, you know, whether that's Gigi Hadid wearing an Iron Maiden shirt or a Motorhead shirt, or you know, some age-gnarled rocker, like, you know, and I guess you have to speak to those individuals of what it means to them, but we think it speaks to everyone's desire to kind of stand out from the crowd and be individuals. And yeah, I think the fascination for us, you know, is that we can sit here and bring back, you know, Motorhead haven't performed since Lemmy passed a few years ago, and we can, in a way that working with, you know, his management, his closest friends, bring him back in a way that is authentic. And like, how cool is that? You know, if someone had said that 10 years ago, it would have been unheard of.
One of my favorite quotes by Lemmy, when some interviewer for the BBC said, "Can you describe your music?" He said, "It's music that will make your neighbor's lawn die." I love that. Who says that? You know, it's awesome.
If anyone wants to hear some fun Lemmy stories, we'll be in the bar upstairs.
Yes, they'll be up at.
We don't have time for those.
They'll be at the after party, and there's a lot of great. I even have Lemmy stories, and I do not really look like the Lemmy story type.
Just to get touch back on, we're kind of going off point a bit, but digital wearables, wearable digitals. Ozfest is the first time that we were really experimenting with music IP as a digital wearable, like beyond just a T-shirt. So we have wearables which are Megadeth's Vic skull head, which you can wear as a helmet, and we've got the War Pig head. We've got Ozzy Osbourne bat wings, his glasses, his hairstyle. You can buy the emoji of biting a bat's head off. So there's like it's a whole new world of merchandise that we didn't really, that we've not really explored before, because obviously, you know Iron Maiden T-shirts, you know Motorhead T-shirts, you know the standard merchandise, but this is, you know, for us, an incredibly exciting new age of merchandising where we can use IP in ways that has never been done before. And beyond that, just the use of Ozzy Osbourne's IP to create the stage is insane. Like, you know, if any of you were around on the 10th, 11th, 12th, or 13th of November, I would say visit Decentraland. It's free. Go and check out the stage, because the rendering is insane. You know, it's this ginormous gothic vampire castle with a skeleton bat wrapped around it, bats flying around, and some incredible legacy bands like Megadeth and Ozzy Osbourne and Motorhead are going to be performing. So
in a way, the tech allows you to do things that are actually far truer to the artist's, you know, ambition and you know, voice, in a way that touring stadiums just doesn't really get you to do. In a way that, you know, we can't at a merch stand fit people for a pair of Aussie wings and send them off flying into the sky as much as we'd like to.
So, I mean, what's amazing to me is how much you have embraced this Web3 world, where a lot of people in the music business are still like, what's an NFT? Is that a government agency?
yeah,
That's pretty far out. And the fact that you've been able to pull the company to show them this is the future, and also explain to the artists and managers, that's a lot of layers of convincing. How have you done that? Like,
I think our approach was just to actually get involved in the community rather than try and extract from it. And that's coming down to meeting people like you or Spotty, who's a good friend of ours, or, you know, we have great relationships with the guys at Kongs or the guys at BAYC, and like, you know, it's just all about rooting yourselves in the community rather than being like, we are music industry and we know what's good for Web3. It's like, actually, you need to learn from Web3 and take the experience and the knowledge out of that and then implement it into what you're doing. And it might mean that you move a little bit slower in terms of your releases, but the stuff that we've got lined up with the knowledge that we feel that we've acquired from actually conversating with people who are heavily involved in the space, I think makes us feel confident that what we're working on is authentic to not just our brands and our merchandise and the bands that we're working with, but also with the Web3 space and the community, which for us is like the essential bridge.
And constantly learning, it's kind of a case of what was true, and we hear this a lot, what was true last month isn't true tomorrow. And, I think there's that can obviously be challenging.
Just moving the mic closer.
Pardon me.
Because it keeps going away. So I want to pivot and say that, like Spotty Wi-Fi, who's somewhere around, I don't know if he's here, but is like this amazing guy, like really an example to me of an artist in Web3 who launched here specifically, built his own fan base. And then I met you guys, and then between you and them and others, you're starting Apeopoly, which is a very awesome idea. Can you tell everyone what Apeopoly is? If I'm pronouncing it correctly, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think. Look, no, it's we're definitely allowed to talk about it and happy to share it in this room for sure. I think more widely, we've made a call to say that the BAYC is probably right now the cut through IP that's come out of the Web3 space. Whether that's because of a multitude of factors that people here will be around, but we've decided to kind of build a brand within that space, a collective of holders, which we are calling the Army of Apes, and we've onboarded and licensed. I mean, the numbers is more than you need for a Monopoly board, let's just say. And yeah, we're kind of leading out with bringing that Web 2, Web 1, pre-web merchandising knowledge and applying it to this new IP. And just the same as Motorhead or Iron Maiden speaks to something beyond the music, so does Bored Ape. Maybe it speaks to early adoption, it speaks to social mobility, and like we'll let people decide what it stands for them. But our first kind of project, which Larry alluded to, which we're going out with, is Apeopoly. And in the same way that Monopoly teaches, those how to trade and the foibles of capitalism and greed, and this is our way of bringing people that are outside the world of NFTs, as well as those that are within it, exposing them to NFT trading, the highs and lows, that come with it without the kind of inherent actual risk attached. So it's a fun way for people to learn about, rather than going to jail, they might get rug pulled, And it's that kind of semantics that we feel it can be exclusionary for people, and hopefully this game will be a fun way for them to kind of get their head around it.
That's awesome. And you heard it here first, people. Breaking news in the Web3 space. Apeopoly is coming. Teach your children, get it for Christmas.
We're working on a streetwear collaboration as well, and some runwear. Like the Army of Apes doesn't just stop at board games. You might end up getting salt and pepper shakers at some point.
Well, it's like, for instance, like we've done things like, historically, as Global have done things like One Direction with chewing gum in Brazil, and it's that kind of, because I guess what comes with, the great thing that comes with, we hear a lot about is whether it's CCO or the ability for people to make the most of their IP as holders, but practically, how do people know how to navigate the challenges associated with actually bringing a product to market? So, we can hopefully apply some of our learnings along the way and bring people in a way that allows them to actually benefit from, having bought in early and whatever else. So yeah, we think, like to Ben's point, whether you'll see a Sporty Wi-Fi chewing gum or one of Jimmy's apes, who we're really proud to be representing on a salt and pepper shaker, for want of another example. We're hoping we're gonna put it everywhere without diluting the value of the brand, and it doesn't stop there. We're looking at other projects that we feel can kind of similarly cut through, and yeah, we're always learning.
So when you're doing, let's say, a One Direction chewing gum or a salt shaker, you're obviously partnering with companies that do the actual execution of of physical as well as just the NFT as digital merchandise. Is
Yeah,
that
so
correct?
at Global, we're proud to have like one of the, I'd say, most proactive like licensing departments, third-party licensing departments out of any like music merchandise company. I don't know if anyone knows much about merchandise companies, probably not. It's a bit of a weird niche, but most of them now are owned by major labels, so Sony, Universal, and Warner's. Ours is an independent one. It's just a family-run business. The founder, the CEO is his stepson. The head of licensing is his son. We work closely with them. And yeah, our licensing department is basically really, really, really proactive and prolific because it has to be, because we're not funded by Sony. We are funded by the work that we do and the good projects and the well thought out ideas that we present to our artists. So whether it's Motley Crue with a bag of coffee and a video of Tommy Lee's eyes popping out of his head driving a Ferrari down Sunset Boulevard, or or an Iron Maiden Funko, or it's a Kylie Minogue rosé, which is incredibly popular all over the world, and Motorhead have got whiskies, and we work and partner with all sorts of different companies in order to take the IP across the world. So for us, like coming into this and the Web3 world, it's just more acquisition of partners who can help tell the story in an authentic way, of our brands and of our IP, and whether it's gaming or it's an NFT collection or something, as long as there's like a reason to do it, as long as there's fan acquisition and there's like an authenticity to the brand that exists, then why not? But it's always collaborative in that sense.
I want to point out why this is so important and tell a story briefly with our. We have more time than I thought.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm done.
I'm 64 years old, and if I go to Universal or Sony or Warner Brothers Records and say, I've worked with some of the greatest musicians of the last half century, like David Bowie or Sammy Hagar, Van Halen, or any number of people, charity projects with Bono, they will yawn and say, yeah, but did you do the newest Dua Lipa song, or how many tracks on Drake's new album have you written? Come back when you've done that. And so I have transferred over into Web3 and the NFT space, where people here, we were talking about this, people treat each other in a very honorable way who have actual history, because the space is so new. I mean, literally 2 or 3 years ago, people at OpenSea were wondering, like, are we going to make enough money to keep our doors open? And now it's billions of dollars, if not a month, it's certainly in a few months. So what you're doing with these artists, that maybe Tommy Lee or Iron Maiden or even the Backstreet Boys, is exposing them to a whole new generation of people and a whole new generation of fans, and helping to keep their legacy alive, because people aren't. Iron Maiden can go out tomorrow and sell out Hammersmith Odeon, but if they put out a physical album through a label, it might sell 10,000, 20,000 physical copies. So what you're doing is is very honorary. It's honoring these people who have made a difference. The music is one part of someone's life. The music is a part of someone's childhood, their dreams. People had posters up on their wall of Motorhead or Iron Maiden or the Backstreet Boys. I grew up with posters of Queen in my room, and then by the time I was 19, I was on tour with them, and Freddie Mercury was saying, hey, we're going to jam tonight at the party. You want to come? Like, it's a surreal thing to enter this space and then to keep it relevant. And what you're doing is keeping it relevant and bringing new people into Web3 that maybe don't know about Tommy Lee.
Are those Beatles socks?
Say that again?
Are those Beatles socks?
Yes, they are.
A bit of license.
He actually noticed that we went to Abbey Road yesterday like tourists and walked across the crosswalk. So these are yellow submarine socks.
Great example of
Music
innovative-
merchandise, everybody.
I don't want to digress, but I have to tell you for 1 second, like, I was on a Twitter Spaces with the president of Time Magazine and somebody for the artist Calder, a great artist. And he was talking about the Rolling Stones, and the person who was running the space for Calder didn't know who the Rolling Stones were. And then he said, name one Rolling Stone song. And the person was like, I Want It That Way. I'm just kidding, but like they didn't know the name Mick Jagger or Keith Richards. So what you're doing is really not only an honor to the fans, but really an honor to the artists, because holy mackerel.
And like Nick Carter from Backstreet Boys loves NFTs, by the way. Like he is obsessed, and like a lot of these artists are really into the space. Backstreet Boys play on Sunday night, and we've got to go down there early just to specifically have chit chat with Nick about NFTs and what's going on and update him, because he's obsessed and he's been on tour and he's missing all of the spaces and stuff. But yeah, it is a legacy to the artists, and what we're trying to do is just guard their brands and make sure that, the last thing that you want to do is work with, a band or a brand that's been building over 50 years and has done so excellently, and then bring it into Web3 and F it all up.
Well, we've seen a lot of that, right? People just stepping in blindly, seeing it as a money opportunity and failing the fans, and that's kind of just the opposite of how we're trying to approach it. But yeah, to Larry's point, I think some of the legacy IP, right, there's 75 properties we're dealing with, but like some of the legacy IP won't tour forever. Some of it already stopped touring. So there's an eternity to it, and it is bringing those artists, we talk about writers and musicians as like having an immortality through their songs and through their well, whether it's their films, if they're a movie star, or their highlight reel if they're a football player. And I think what we can do here is we can make, well, huge, ever-expanding 3D worlds, which, look at someone like Iron Maiden, like, when they stop touring, they got to live forever. And they already will, but they will in a more enlarged, colourful way through the work that we're doing.
Yeah, we're working on that.
And what I want to say with our remaining 3 minutes is that, some people have said, oh my God, it's all gone wrong. There's been a lot of negative press about the words, even NFT or metaverse. I have a catchphrase and I apply this to myself as well. Like, we are late to a party that hasn't started yet.
Yeah.
Like NFTs are going to be like the thing that's your property deed when you buy a house someday, or your ticket
100%.
to go to London University, or your ticket to
we see it as like just a technology. Like, it's another format to get information. And I think, if you're listening to an album, you're not listening to a CD, you're listening to an album. So it's just the NFT is the technology, and we're in it for the long run, bear market, bull market, whatever. Like, we know that this is going to be the future for a lot of our legacy IP, because when they stop touring, as Sam rightly said, it needs to live somewhere, and this is where it's going to live 100%.
I think. Well, I echo that, frankly, and it's just a way for us to. Well, they talk about blockchains being immutable, right? And just to digress a second, like to Ben's point around the format, you don't talk about the album, you don't talk about the CD, you talk about the album. Like, what does the technology allow you to do to talk to your fan differently? And like, I don't think there's been a leap, well, prior to the NFTs that's kind of permitted this new conversation between fan and artist so much. So whether we kind of adjust semantics, whether, in response to kind of some of the stigmas or whatever attached, the fact is, like, we're going to continue using the technology to kind of create new relationships with fans and artists.
And to your point, Sam, I'm the living example as a creator. I produced a track for David Bowie 20 years ago, and due to complications at the time, it was never released. And with the advent of NFT, if I put that out, let's say, as a single myself, like, it would be a blip in the news media because it's so noisy. But I own the tracks. So I actually am going to be, in the near future, putting out an NFT where...
Chill it, Larry. 30 seconds left. Go, go, go.
People will get the tracks. So
new David Bowie track.
So you can, like if somebody buys it for their son who's a guitar player, like, forget Stevie Ray Vaughan, you can do the guitar solo on the song. And, I pulled it up last December, all the tracks, and sang, you know, with Bowie. Like, I can't tell you, like, the goosebump time that was, because he sang so good. It was before pitch correcting all the computers. And it was like 2 takes. He walked in and out of the studio in 45 minutes, and it was pitch perfect.
And
Like,
will a holder be able to do the same thing?
yeah, the holder is going to upload the tracks. And so you talked about the utility, the thing between fans. It's not just here's a new song to listen to. Here are the tracks. Go make your own remix.
It's a new way to interact with the song.
Yeah,
right?
here's a way to have you and David Bowie in the same song.
And that's not a buzzword. That's a lot
It's
of fun.
crazy. And you know, I've partnered with charity because we were talking about the need for goodwill, and we're coming down to a few. We're going the opposite way, so we have to get off. And so anyway, to be continued. And I just, you know, want to thank you, Sam, and thank you, Ella, for coming.
Larry.
We've been hanging out as mates. Now it's my time to have a beer after we're done.
Yeah.
But these guys are the real deal. If you see them around the conference, if you see them at the cocktail party, like, please get in touch with them. Get emails, like, follow them on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. I don't look exactly like my profile picture, but I'm the only Larry
Close.
Dvoskin.
Very close.
On Instagram, Facebook, well, actually, Instagram, there are 2 Larry Dvoskins. Don't follow the one with 11. He's gonna ask you for your seed phrase. So,
It's me.
but on Twitter, and just please follow these guys because they're really revolutionizing the music world and the NFT world. So thank you for listening.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Larry.
Cheers.
Thank you guys. Sam, Larry, Ben. Everyone, go and talk with them tonight. We're